because the lobby is so strong. Tobacco lobby is so strong. We try to put a question in parliament, but the lobby, tobacco lobby, they put so much of money to a politician, to an organization.
What we're talking about now is your particular situation. Threats, those are something outside of your organization. So, for example, the tobacco lobby is a threat. An opportunity would be a source of funding. Committed staff would be an asset. A challenge within your organization may be that the director doesn't think that tobacco is an important issue. Yeah, actually, one by one, why don't you do asset, challenge, threat, and opportunity? That's probably a good way to do it.
The whole team is there and they are committed to it.
Okay, so you've got a strong team, but a challenge.
Yes, we need a proper legislation to have it teak so that the enforcement can take place.
Fortunately, the cultural approval is not there. It's a media and it's a Western influence that is working.
Okay, good.
And we have the law like around 100 yards around the educational institutions, the tobacco product shouldn't be sold. It can be, tobacco free, not only smoke free, but even the products cannot be sold in any areas.
An asset is the good relationship between government and NGO.
And the laws already.
The law is there.
In general, in developing countries, the implementation is a long-term process. Implementation is not a short-term process. And when we are thinking of a project-based, or a projectized time-bound activity, sometimes it becomes very difficult to get the result or outcomes in a short time.
Yeah, so a challenge is unrealistic expectations. Okay, that's a big challenge. Anybody want to say anything more?
Are there research priorities working with young people? Because that's a very important area. Young people, cessation or prevention programs should be in place.
What you want to look at is the effectiveness of the measures and the programs that you put in place, which young people will benefit from. For example, not exposing young people to advertising is a priority before you educate on the dangers of smoking. Otherwise, you've got two incoherent messages.
Actually, of all the tobacco control programs that have been invested in worldwide, schools programs are the ones that have been most implemented and most evaluated. And there's just such an overwhelming body of evidence to show that if they have an effect, it's an extremely small, extremely short-term effect. As a parent, I can tell my daughter, a tiger is a dangerous animal. Never go near a tiger. But would I leave my daughter alone in the room with a tiger? No, I wouldn't. I would cage the tiger. I wouldn't expect the child to have the responsibility to protect itself from something that dangerous. And for us, the tobacco industry is the tiger, And we must tell our children that tobacco is dangerous. We must absolutely do that. But we must also put the policies in place that will contain that very, very dangerous thing.
The city is having a population of 16 million, and the demographic profile as far as the prevalence of smoking goes, it's roughly 40% of the males, they smoke, 3% of the females, they smoke. By 2009, we aim to make the city smoke-free in a phased manner. The smoking areas are not defined. What type of smoking areas, whether negative pressure or segregated. It is defined that they will be physically segregated, will be totally wall-to-wall.
I just wanted to share with you the experience of France, because I think we've got things similar.
The best, if you have another chance, just don't even think of smoking rooms at all. Getting rid of the idea of smoking rooms, first because they don't protect anybody, the people who are going to go inside, there's all sorts of problems with them. You will lower the level of enforcement you will have to do, because you wouldn't have to check the ventilation, the pressure and all that.
I can give you the example of Italy. in Italy, by culture, we don't tend to respect laws. And it is respected. It's 2 years now, and it is respected. It has had its very, very positive effects on people smoking habits. The preparation of the law was done so deeply and so widely that it came naturally then to people to respect this law.
And when you look at your own country, you will know what the political triggers are in your own country. You will know what the national vision, if you like, of your politicians, and you will know what the things that they listen to are. I think it's worthwhile noting that while there has been a certain amount of political support in every country that has gone smoke-free, the reasons for that political support have been different in every country.